Hi, how are you guys all doing? My name is Matthew Moretti, and today I'll be discussing the textile company W.L. Gore. W.L. Gore's bread and butter these days are products made of Gore-Tex, or for the scientific term, expanded polytetrafluoroethylene, or EPTFE as they call it. Is essentially a heated and stretched Teflon material. With this material, though, they've knocked down over 5,000 patents, including things like rain jackets, firefighter coats, spacesuits, and even things like heart valves, guitar strings, and electronics insulation. To talk about the company itself, though, it was founded by the eponymous William L. Gore and his wife Genevieve on their wedding anniversary on January 1st, 1958. It was founded in their garage? No. Their basement. So not quite full-blown startups, but since then they've gone fully international, with offices in over 25 countries. They currently employ over 10,000 employees, or associates, as they like to be called. So one of the more interesting things that's put W.L. Gore on the map is their unique organizational structure. So I'll talk about that one first. It mostly operates as a horizontal lattice structure, whereas the book puts it a product team structure, where employees work in small groups that independently work on products, as the name implies. Each team does their own research development and resource supply gathering, although production and sales may be covered by others. Most employees are of equal stature, although there are upper management and divisions. These tend to have less pull in the company as most others would be. That being said, within each of these product teams, employees are fairly equal. Their hierarchy is determined by its members, with each employee's tasks and even the leadership of the group being decided by its members. It's a little bit funny, but W.L. Gore has a philosophy of voting with your feet. If somebody wants to leave, they'll call the meeting. If people want to follow them, then they'll show up. If they don't, the failed leader will basically sit in front of an empty meeting hall for about half an hour. Essentially, this allows leaders to arise organically from what the team feels is important in their leader. With the company's organizational structure in mind, maintaining motivation is a real challenge for employees, in large part because managers in the traditional sense don't really exist, which is funny because we're taking a management class, but that's beside the point. One of the biggest motivators, although it has been discussed by many to a very large extent, is pay. It's, people love money. It's kind of important to live in society. The company has a policy, that being said, of one's pay being determined by how much they contribute to the group. They'll take a poll of an employee's peers, and essentially their abilities will be assessed by people who work with them, so that their pay will be titrated accordingly. In addition, W.L. Gore is a privately owned corporation, one of the biggest 200 in the world, as they're very proud of saying. This means that a large part of their pay is actually based off of stocks, pay, bonuses, and retirement funds. This incentivizes working hard because if your company fails, so goes a lot of your money for future use. Finally, though, a lot of motivation comes from the fact that employees can decide where they work. Although there is bureaucratic needs for certain projects to be worked on, for the most part, employees can decide what projects are important to them and subsequently work on those projects, which is great for employees who want to be autonomous in what they work on. Leadership in the traditional sense is very sparse at W.L. Gore. As mentioned a few seconds ago, really, the leadership is ephemeral and context-dependent. That being said, there are upper levels of management, culminating with their CEO, Terry L. Carey. Her philosophy is that all employees should be kept as equals, mirroring the culture of the company. She makes sure that all employees are kept educated on what's happening in the company. And in addition, she tries to maintain the chaotic flux. Well, she tries to maintain a balance between the chaotic flux of creative types who work for her company and the bureaucratic structure needed by such a large company as theirs. The unusual organizational structure of W. L. Gore requires a very robust organizational culture to support it. New employees are given mentors who kind of help guide them through the culture of this company. They show new hires a variety of product projects before letting them settle into one they particularly enjoy. From what I can glean, they don't really have much in the way of official missions or visions, but they do have 4 guiding principles: freedom, fairness, commitment, and the waterline. The first 3 are pretty self-explanatory in the context of their structure, being that people kind of move between each, being treated as equals, and they have to self-manage themselves so that the individual groups don't drown. The waterline is kind of a weird one. What it means is nothing happens below the waterline, or that problems don't arise below an employee's radar. They try to do this by making sure everybody consult experts, other expert employees before taking any kind of plunge. So W. L. Gore does try to maintain both environmental and social responsibilities. For environmental, they're pretty run-of-the-mill. They try to adhere to all health, safety, and environmental standards wherever they are. But for me, the interesting part is their social responsibility. Being part of the textile industry, there's a lot of forced and child labor as part of the territory. To kind of combat this, they've made a Modern Slavery Act, where they tried to make guidelines for all their suppliers and business partners for labor rights and to keep compliant with all local laws. They also try to do third-party audits to make sure that nothing funky is going on, and employees who are found in high-risk divisions dealing with the manufacturers or whatever else are given training on the recognition and prevention of human trafficking. So at this point, I think I've brushed on the biggest competitive advantages of W. L. Gore. They mostly adhere to a differentiation strategy where they try to provide products that nobody else can, with the lawsuits to kind of back that up. They've gotten better since the patent ran off. That being said, they've really been banking on diversification of products. With all the innovation they've been making, they can flood all sorts of industries, even though they're related by what lies behind their products. Yeah. So as for what kept me interested in this company, that's a good question. So as for what kept me interested in this company, I just found it fascinating from the get-go. When I first started researching this in the first few weeks of the class, actually, I just found it interesting trying to figure out how a company with so little management was able to become so big in the industry. And as mentioned before earlier, I find the chemistry, if nothing else, absolutely fascinating. I think it's just like corn, where they took a simple thing and they did as much as possible with that simple thing. I just think it's really takes a lot of ingenuity, and I think that's incredible, I guess. Yeah, I think this is me signing off. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the nice semester.